The Neto family, 18 Wicker Street. Earlier this year, we learned of the Neto family, who live at 18 Wicker Street, Yonkers, and the terror campaign they've endured during the time of Son of Sam. Our source was RTTC video, currently removed from YouTube at this time. Our new source, from the new data feeds made available, police reports show a bit of a different timeline of events. The data compilation by Cracklin' Rosie True Crime may open your mind to the minor incident being unrelated to SOS and everything else happening after Berkowitz moved to 35 Pine Street. Let's take a look at the reports. Before I review the extracted data from YPD's reports on the Neto harassment, I'd like to just review the theory here. We will talk about Mr. Neto telling police that in 1975 there were neighborhood kids throwing rocks and a bottle into the yard. We had initially thought that this might have been part of the terror campaign, but at this time, after we read the extracts, you may believe that this was an isolated and separate incident. On May 13, 1976, was the arson, the Molotov cocktail, and a few weeks after that, there was a letter sent. These reports will show that one letter was received. July 1976, harassing phone calls began. August 1976, SWAT incident. December 24th, 1976, the Neto dog Rocket is shot. Again, these are extracted from full police reports. I encourage you to go to the Yonkers Police Department file in the new data dump and read them in their entirety for yourself, and of course, always make up your own mind. The assigned spoke to owner Neto, who stated that he had not had any arguments with neighbors and cannot understand why the fire occurred. He stated that approximately 1 year ago, rocks were thrown to the second floor window, and also a bottle was thrown at that time by youths in the area, but he didn't know who was responsible. He also stated that his German Shepherd dog sometimes barks at children in the area when they come near the home. So he's referring to the Molotov cocktail when he says 1 year earlier the rocks were thrown, and evidently he thought that they were just neighborhood kids messing around, so perhaps someone in the house saw that, but they just didn't recognize the kids. Taken from a supplemental report from Joseph Surlak, dated September 22nd, 1977. The assigned proceeded to 18 Wicker Street and thereat spoke with Maria Neto in regards to any threatening letters that she had received in the past regarding this investigation. Mrs. Neto related that a couple of weeks after the arson of her house, which occurred on May 13, 1976, a letter addressed to her was intercepted by her mother, Andrea Almeida, which her sister, Sylvia Estebanez of Redacted, read same without the knowledge of Mrs. Neto. This letter expressed hate for the Neto family and further that the dogs of hell and the Neto family had to be destroyed. This letter was not signed, and it was immediately destroyed by Mrs. Neto's mother and sister. Mrs. Neto was not informed of this letter at that time because she was suffering from a nervous condition. The police department was not notified of this letter. Mrs. Neto stated that at no time did she receive any other letters, nor did she receive any threatening phone calls. June 1976, his wife, referring to Maria Neto, received a letter which was typewritten on the envelope and a block print on the letter. Said letter talked about hell, dogs, and the devil. He stated he never saw the letter because his wife destroyed the letter and did not want him to see it and get alarmed. The letter was not shown to the police, according to Mr. Neto. Now, from the passage before, we learn that it was actually Maria Neto's mom and sister that destroyed the letter and were keeping it from her. July 1976 and August 1976. In July, harassing phone calls, including one that the police responded and searched his home for dead bodies. So in August, that was the SWAT call. July is when other calls began, so I recognized that in the earlier report, Mrs. Neto said that there were no harassing phone calls, but here, Mr. Neto admits to harassing phone calls in his statement, including the one that was called in saying that there were dead bodies at the Neto home at 18 Wicker Street. Let's quickly review. 1975, rocks and bottle thrown at the Neto home. It is very possible that this had absolutely nothing to do with the Son of Sam crimes. May 13th, 1976, the arson was reported, the Molotov cocktail. A few weeks after that, a letter was sent to the Neto home that was destroyed and never reported to the police. July 1976, harassing phone calls began, and in August 1976 was the SWAT incident. Finally, December 24th, 1976, the Neto dog Rocket is shot. 3 days after Berkowitz's arrest, Detective Zigo came to the Neto house and let them know that he admitted to the shooting of their dog. After that, there were no further incidents. Thank you for jumping on with Cracklin' Rosie True Crime. If this subject interests you, leave it in the comments. Maybe we could discuss a little bit further in a live.